Hey all, today we're going to be going through our first video lesson, and we will go through this in class and then you'll try it again at home. I'll show you how to take notes during a video lesson, how to pause, rewind, rewatch, things like that, just so you get the hang of it before you are off on your own. So first unit is basic geometry, and our first concept is points, lines, and planes. In this lesson we're going to be naming points, lines, and planes. And this should seem pretty easy to you. I think it's something you're probably familiar with even if you've never taken a geometry class before. So geometry is filled with a lot of vocabulary, and to start with we will have a lot of vocabulary. So at any point if you need to write down a definition, so we need to write down that a point represents a location. If I'm going too fast in the video, you can always pause and copy down the definition and then start the video again. Okay, so a point does represent a location. It's a dot. You've seen them in the coordinate plane. Here we have point A. The dot here is the point. A is its name. And if we want to name this point, if we're writing about it, we can just call it A. If we have a whole bunch of points together in a straight path, we have a line. A line is made up of an infinite set of points. It forms a straight path. It goes in two directions. It never ends. That's what these arrows here mean. It goes in two directions and never ends. A and B here are 2 points. We can call them A and B. They're two of the many countless number of points that are on this line. We're just showing them so that we can name this line. And there's 2 ways to name the line. We can name it by using 2 points, or if we have a label like right over here, the little letter M, we can call it line M. So 2 ways to name this would be line AB, and notice I have a line over top of the A and B. That represents to me that this is a line we're talking about. We could also call it BA. They both are the same, written with the letters in different order. Or like I said, we can call it line M because we have the little label M over here. So 2 ways to name a line. If we don't have the little letter, then we need to use 2 points that are on the line. And again, we can say AB or BA. A plane is a flat surface. A good example would be a piece of paper. It contains infinitely number of points, and we can draw an infinite number of lines in a plane. Here in plane P, I have points A, B, and C, and I can name a plane again by either using some letter that's labeled. So here this is just a label, it's not a point. Or I can use any 3 points that are in the plane. So I have A, B, and C, and I'll write them in alphabetical order. And let me just move this out of your way. So I can call this plane P because it's labeled with a P here, or I can call it plane ABC because it has points A, B, and C on it, and now I know which plane I'm talking about. So this is where you would pause the video, and this is an example. So I want you to name all the points that are in this figure over here to the right. I want you to name the lines that are in the figure, and you can name them in any way, and name the plane. So there's 2 ways to name the plane like we just talked about. I want you to name it in both ways. So this is where you would pause the video and try this on your own, and then I will go through it for you. Okay, so you should have paused the video, tried these, and now you should check your answer. So all the points, all the points that are in this figure are R, X, Q, and Z. Little s and little r label the 2 lines, and V is just a label for the plane. It's not a point. Notice there's no point near it. There are many names we could name these lines. We can name this line RX, line RX. We can name it line RQ, just choosing 2 points on the line. We can name it line XQ, or we can use the little letter and name it line S. And then this line right here only has one name. It's line R. It only has 1 point shown on it, though it has infinitely many points on it. We only have 1 point drawn on it, so we can't name it using points. We'll name it using the little label line R. And lastly, the two ways to name the plane. We can call it plane V, using this V that's just a label, or we can choose any 3 points in the plane, and I chose R, X, and Z, and I called it plane RXZ. Your answer might be different. As long as you chose 3 points, you're correct. Next, we're going to talk about segments and rays. Here I have segment AB. Again, if it's taking too long to write down the definition of a segment, please pause the video, copy the definition. These notes are also available in PDF form on Fusion so that you can follow along if you can print those out. Here I have segment AB. It's just a portion of a line. It starts at A, ends at B. These are called endpoints. It's where the segment ends. And it contains all these points in between A and B. If I want to name this, I'm going to name it segment AB or segment BA. Notice on the top I have a segment. It's not a line, it's a segment, so there's no arrows. I don't need to put the points on the end. I just put that little bar over top, and that tells me that says segment BA and segment AB. Both are correct. It just depends on which order you want to go in. Array is another part of a line. It has one endpoint, so here I have an endpoint at A. B is also on the ray, and it goes in one direction forever. And we'll call that ray AB. When we name a ray, we always start by naming it with the endpoint. So this cannot be BA. It has to be ray AB, and we put a little ray on top to tell us that that says ray AB. The ray on top always goes to the right. It doesn't matter which direction the ray points over here. When we name it, the ray always points to the right. And if I have two opposite rays or two rays that start at the same endpoint, so here in this picture, I have point B, I have ray BA that goes to the left, and ray BC that goes to the right. They share the same endpoint, and they make this straight line. Those are called opposite rays. And we can call them ray BA and ray BC. Here again is where you should pause the video. You should name all the segments, name two rays, and name a pair of opposite rays. So I've labeled all of the segments, as you should have as well. Oh, and I've shown you the answer to the next one. So we have segment AB, BC, CD, AC, AD, and BD. They're all different chunks of that big line. There are also several rays. I asked you to name two. I named them all for you. If you named any two of those rays, then you are correct. And notice again, when I'm labeling a ray, ray AB, it doesn't matter which direction it goes on my paper. When I label it, I put the ray going to the right. And then I asked you to name a pair of opposite rays, two rays that make a straight line. I chose ray BA and ray BC. And you could have chose any two other rays that share the same endpoint. So notice they both start with B, because I start with the endpoint. And they go in opposite directions, and they're opposite rays. A couple more vocabulary words. If points are called collinear, that means they're on the same line. Notice the beginning of the word co. Co means together. Linear means on a line. So point A, B, and C are together on the same line. They are collinear. Similarly, any points or lines that are on the same plane, together on the same plane, planar, they are called coplanar. So A, B, and C are coplanar. If I drew lines through them, I can do that now. Those lines are all on plane P or plane ABC. Those lines are coplanar as well as the points. So pause the video, try to answer these two questions, 2 points that are collinear and 2 points that are coplanar, and then unpause and listen for an answer. So 3 collinear points. You only need to name 2. I named all of them. R, X, and Q are collinear. Z is not on the same line, so it is not collinear. And 3 points. I named them all again. R, X, Q, and Z are all on the same plane, so they are all coplanar. Couple vocabulary words that we're going to use throughout the year are postulate and theorem. A postulate is just simply something that we accept to be true, and a theorem is something that mathematically somebody has proven or you can prove to be true, so then we say that it's true. Again, pause the video if it's taking you too long to write the definitions. So we're going to learn 2 postulates right now. If 2 planes intersect, if 2 lines intersect, they intersect and they make 1 point. So these 2 lines here, we don't need to label them. They intersect and they make this point, point P. Similarly, if 2 planes intersect, they make a line. So these 2 planes, this one over here to the right, this one to the left, where they cross and they make a line. Okay, this is the last example. Again, pause the video, answer the questions, and then wait for the answer. So we're looking for the intersection of segment AB and segment AE. They're segments. These are parts of a box, so they don't go on forever. They're segments, not lines. And AB and AE intersect at point A. Notice that both of the names have letter A in it because they share that 1 point in common. And the intersection of plane EFG and ABF, if it's hard to see, sometimes I like to color them in. EFG is this plane, the bottom of that box, and ABF is this side of the box. So we can see that those 2 planes intersect right here at segment EF. And I actually labeled it wrong. It shouldn't be line EF, it should be segment EF. So I'll correct my mistake. And now we have a correct answer, segment EF, because it doesn't go on forever. At the end of every video, you're going to have a you try. There are 1 to 5 questions that you should be able to do after watching the video. Do these on a separate sheet of paper with your name on top and be ready to turn them in at the beginning of class. You should also write down any questions that you might have after watching the video so that we can talk about them at the beginning of class and get things straightened out. So the answers will not be on the end of the video. You try these 4 questions on your own. Again, put your name on top of the paper and be able to turn it in, so don't put it on the same sheet as your notes because you're going to have to give them to me and then you won't have your notes in order to do the practice in class.